Hey everyone, welcome to WOW, Woes of Womanhood. Today we're going to be talking about travel and how travel has made an impact on our own lives and our perspective and how we see the world. Such profound things that you can see when you go out there and explore the world.
It's great because we both have traveled to many places across the world and within the US, so I feel like we can bring a lot of our perspectives here.
A lot of times people say like, oh, go out there and travel, like you'll learn so much and all that stuff. And if you've never traveled, you're like, I don't get what that really means. So we're gonna break that down for you and actually share the impact that travel has had on our lives with tangible examples about ways that it has really framed our thinking and how that would also, happen for you.
Some people treat travel as an escape, but the most important thing that can come out of travel is bringing those experiences back to your homeland or where you originated from and bring those values back and reenact it through your life.
So I want to say travel is different than vacationing. Vacationing somewhere and going to a resort and sitting there, you're not going to have profound insight. I mean, maybe you'll have like one or two of like being at peace and such, but you're not really immersing yourself in the culture and the environment of a new place and maybe a new religion or a new way of life. So I do want to make a distinction between travel and vacationing. They are very different things.
So Melody, what was one of your new perspectives after you traveled?
Something that I hope I can also pass down to my child is giving them that global experience, because I think it's really easy to grow up in a bubble. I never even moved in my life. I've lived in one house my whole life, but I felt very lucky that I had the opportunity to go out and see the world in a lot of different ways because my family had traveled so often. So the perspective that gave me is, even at a young age, just an understanding of everything out there in the world is not exactly the same as how I grew up. And maybe how I grew up isn't the right way or the only way to live. So I think even as a kid, I took that away from the experience of like, whoa, I'm living a certain way, but that's not how all people live. Whether it be for better or for worse, like there's just different ways to live out there. And I think that helped. Even though I still think I was very much in a bubble when I was a child, it still helped bring some of that perspective. What about you when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, we only traveled to two places, one being Japan, because that's where my grandparents were to visit family, and then two being Hawaii because it's an extension of Japan. No. It's an extension of the US that has that Japanese culture too in the city, so we felt very comfortable there. We did do some travel, or I guess in different words, vacationing within the US, within California a lot, but international travel was Japan. And honestly, that gave me a lot of perspective, and it brought back culture and identity and like being proud of that, and helped me navigate through middle school and high school where I felt maybe more uncomfortable with my Asian side. So I think that really helped me to figure out my identity.
That's so interesting. I've never been to Iran. That's where my parents are from. That's where I'm from. So I think I would also see so much value and like get so much joy and a sense of deeper understanding for my culture and where I came from if I went to that country.
Totally.
So I could totally see how Japan was like amazing for you.
If someone grew up with Blue's Clues, I grew up with this like tiger animation. I forgot the name of it, obviously, but I feel like my childhood was even different too because I had that Japan traveling experiences too. So great choice, Mom.
That is very interesting. And I think the things that I've learned as I've gotten older have definitely shifted. So I think one experience that stood out to me was I did an experience in Denmark with my MBA program. We got to do like a business visit to a bunch of different places in Denmark and saw how corporate business was done there. And from a business standpoint, obviously, I think I learned a lot about how companies run differently, maybe some of what their incentives are, what their regulations are, what they care about, and how different cultures can actually impact heavily ways businesses work. And I think especially even going to Japan, and hearing from your experiences working in Japan, I got to get a lot of perspective about working in an environment that is not truly American. And working with European teams, it's crazy to see how they go and they enjoy like 2-hour lunches, and it's just a very different type of living, especially compared to the Bay Area, obviously, because the Bay Area, it has its own culture. From a business standpoint, that trip really stuck out to me. But also, since that was the first time I was truly solo traveling and had a lot of time to just sit and observe, I got to see a lot about the lifestyle in Copenhagen and how people, especially parents, didn't center their lives around their kids. And what I mean by that is that their kids adapted very much to the parent schedule. So if the parents were going out for breakfast or for coffee with their friends, their kids would be with them. Or if they were going out shopping, their kids would be with them. Not saying that in America that doesn't happen, but I think in America we very much tailor the parental experience to the kids. Oh, the kids need to have a nap at this time. The kids need to have a play date at this time or go to the park at this time. And it's very much the adults conforming their lives to what the kids need in their schedule. But I actually saw a totally different way of bringing up kids and integrating kids into a culture and a lifestyle in Europe where it wasn't centered around the kids. It was actually the kids coming along and experiencing life based on the adult schedule. And that was something that was such an interesting observation for me, especially thinking about, oh, how do I want to raise my kids? Do I want to raise my kids in a way where I'm like very much conforming to them? Or do I want to adopt some of that European lifestyle? Is that European lifestyle even feasible in the environment that I live in? Like maybe the US is just not built for that. Like it doesn't have the infrastructure to support childbearing and like raising a child like European cultures maybe do. So just interesting reflections and considerations as I traveled there, both on the business side and on the personal side.
I love that. And I do agree that I don't think we have the infrastructures, or it's just such a diverse community in the United States that you can't really trust a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that is very apparent through the different, I guess, regulations we have.
Yeah.
But for me, I think Singapore was super eye-opening. I felt like it's going to be very similar to Japan with a little bit of a Western culture, which was exactly it. What was different about it from Japan and the US was that corporate culture felt more close-knit. And I was invited to many different outings, family events. I still get invited to engagement parties. It's just
From coworkers.
From my coworkers, we still have a chat that I'm honestly not that active in, but they're always saying happy birthday, like what's going on with their work, like very catching up with each other vibes.
Very like small island familial, even in the work setting.
Familial, yeah.
Wow.
And they'll introduce me to their husbands or, you know, help me find a job through different connections very casually. And it felt super warm. It felt like I was part of an actual family unit, never felt uncomfortable. It's a very codependent culture, and I really loved that. But when I came to the US, it felt pretty cold. One being because I was in a remote work situation, but also rebuilding those connections that I lost while I was in Japan and Singapore, and being in a completely new workplace where they really prioritized work-life balance. It's like work people are work people. You have a different persona with them. If you don't have a different persona with them, then that's starting to blur the lines of your private life and your work life, and that can actually affect your work career.
That's so interesting though, because I feel like exactly what you said, if you are to get close with some coworkers and familial with them, it's like a lot. Your work is like your work, and then once your work and your personal life get intertwined, it's like all work.
And I totally want to play that game as well, but I think in Singapore, you don't really have a different personality at work. It's all very singular. I don't know how that works, but it is what it is.
Interesting. Let me ask you, in your adult life, obviously you lived in Japan, you lived in Singapore, but was there any traveling experiences that really stuck out to you, where you actually had a moment to reflect and be like, whoa, I don't know, it changed your perspective in some sort of way?
I think every travel experiences, when I come back to where I was, gives me a sense of comfort. And what I mean by this is that I had a travel experience to London, and it was for work, but I got to stay for about a week, go to an Arsenal game, go to a pub, get the London experience, go to the Big Ben or whatever.
Yeah.
And I saw how people dress, I saw the tube, and it gives me comfort when I come back to the US knowing that there is a different world out there than the one that I'm stressed about. So day to day, you live in the matrix, you do the same thing, you just kind of get lost in the sauce. But once you kind of step out and see that there's a different city that other people are working in and having their own problems in, it feels like, oh, I can go to somewhere else. Like, I don't feel so stuck in my own bubble.
Yeah, like you can switch up your environment
whenever. It actually frees you and opens you to opportunities and a, I don't know, mindset that there's freedom out there.
Yeah, I agree. In addition to the perspective of there's so many different lives that you could live, I think also it helps you sit in gratitude. Like, you ever go on that a trip or something and you're like, you come back home and you're like, wow, the fact that I live the life that I live is amazing. And I'm just so grateful for all the opportunities I have in the life that I live. And you had mentioned a story in Bali. Do you want to share the story?
Yeah, when I went to Bali actually with Melody, we didn't stay in the city area of Bali, but we went to Ubud, which is a lot more tranquility vibes and more zen and quieter. And it was really eye-opening because we walked around, we were in like the monkey garden or something, and while we were getting there, there was a souvenir shop, so we were looking around, and at the very back of the souvenir shop, there was just one mattress, probably like a yoga mat sized mattress, and there were like a few kids there too. A mom was like the owner of the souvenir shop, and the dad was like laying down on this yoga mat, and that was their whole house. And it made me understand how privileged we are. Not only that, but we do live a different life than them. Mm-hmm. And to be just appreciative of everything we have.
You can totally have a different life, but I built this life and there's so many good things. Maybe some bad things, but so many good things about it. And I think from the perspective standpoint, like you go somewhere and you learn something new. Like I gave the example of Denmark and the families in Denmark. And it's not to say that, oh, that's the right way and I need to fully adopt that way. But the fact that you even have the perspective of like, okay, this is a life that I'm living, but I can choose to change it, or I can choose to do something different, or even like the way that I'm living is not necessarily right. And I think just having that perspective is really valuable.
It probably brings you peace too.
Yeah. Like you get to step outside of yourself and look in, which is hard to do.
And I do really miss traveling. I feel like that was the theme of my life as I graduated college. And now that I've settled into SF, I'm starting to feel like I am living in this matrix. It's also annoying though to travel because you have to pack everything up and move your life and then restart it.
As in move, not travel, but fully move.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about perspective shifts traveling internationally, but I also think even traveling within the US, there's a lot to learn. And each area of the US, even the Bay Area compared to like SoCal, compared to the East Coast, each place has such unique culture and differences about it. So has there been any like perspectives that you've gotten traveling in the US?
When I went to Nebraska, when I went to North Carolina, when I went to South Carolina, it's just a whole different life. First of all, where I was in those states we're not in the city. So lots of land, the same old franchise foods there.
I always think about that. If I ever visit somewhere and I don't see any mountains around me, it's like shocking to me. If I can look out and just see plains and plains, the horizon all the way down, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. Like I take for granted looking around and seeing the ocean or like seeing mountains. Those are things where that's what we're talking about. It's like if you're not able to step outside, you don't even realize the blessings you have around you.
Yeah.
You're like, I could be someplace where I look out and it's just field.
Yeah.
Fields. I'm like, what? You have no singular hill?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it made me realize that, honestly, I don't love areas like that. But let's say like Nashville or Georgia, there's a lot of rich culture there. And when I see a different perspective of Americana living, I'm like, whoa, we meaning in San Francisco, are at the most progressive area.
No, think about it even in GDP. The Bay Area has like, it's like a super rich area.
We're literally living in the future compared to some of these states. And
oh my gosh, that reminds me. There was this one time, I forgot where I went. It was for work or something. And they didn't take Apple Pay. And I'm like, what the Who doesn't take Apple Pay?
Crazy. We're literally living in the future.
This was years ago though, so Apple Pay was kind of new, but like still I was like, isn't that like a thing? Like everyone just does that?
Right.
No. They don't.
But at the same time, it's nice to have those times where you take a step back and ride a horse in Nashville, and it gives you appreciation again, and gives you a little bite of what it is to live in that area, which is great.
A lot of people are highly educated here, and I think a big piece of higher education is being ongoingly like curious and learning and wanting to learn more and all this stuff, and then going to a place where people are just like, they're just sitting in their life and they're just doing that. I'm like, wow.
And it's not like one is right or one is wrong.
It just gives you perspective.
And sometimes it gives you less pressure too. If you're living that fast life and you're with people who are more content, there's nothing there, it's farmland, then you feel like that pressure is lifted and peaceful too.
Yeah. Like it's all self-inflicted suffering. That's why I think if you have the opportunity to travel, don't vacation. I mean, maybe you can take a few vacations, but like genuinely travel, try and sit in the place that you go, just observe. You will be surprised at how many, I guess, pieces of culture and like lifestyle that you can take away from just observing people on their daily commute, maybe conversation, overhearing conversations people are having. Just those little things are just so crazy to hear. Like the daily conversation that someone may be having in like Copenhagen is so different than a conversation that someone might be having in San Francisco.
One example would be a conversation that was happening in Waffle House in Atlanta was super different than a conversation in a rooftop bar in SF.
Did you hear a conversation at Waffle House you'd like to share? What were they talking about? Do you remember?
I don't really remember.
Well,
I love traveling.
I hope one day I can pass it down to my kids as well.
I feel like your kids might not like traveling.
Why?
Because if your parents like something, sometimes your kids reject that to be their own person and not like the same things you like.
Well, I think kids often don't appreciate the value of traveling. Like, I don't think they get it.
Yeah, they don't.
Because obviously they're not having all these like insights and reflecting. They're just like, okay, what is this new place? Maybe kids find it very exciting because it's like, oh, new stuff. But like maybe teenagers are like, what am I?
Yeah, why am I spending time with family?
As you get older, doesn't everyone like travel? I mean, not logistics of traveling. I understand like logistics. Martin?
Yeah.
My brother doesn't like traveling, but I think that's mostly because he doesn't like traveling with my family. He'd rather travel with his friends and do things that he likes. And he also hates the logistics of traveling, like being on a plane for a long time and stuff like that. So I think it's just like a lot of barriers for him. Like if he was going somewhere with his friends doing something he genuinely liked, like he would suffer the plane trip like for it.
Well, great. We've learned a lot about each other through traveling, and we would love to learn about you on your favorite places to travel and what you've learned. Definitely comment below or to the side if you're on TikTok. And I'll see you not next Thursday, but the Thursday after that. Bye!